Okay. All right. Welcome, Steve. Thanks for being here.
Good to be with you, Kyle. Thanks again for your time.
Oh, no, thank you. I really appreciate it. Uh, all right. So tell us a little bit about your agency, what kind of services you offer, what kind of clients you like to take. What are you guys up to?
Sure. Yeah, we're in Charlotte, North Carolina. SEO based. We kind of live in the Google search world. Ideally, a perfect client to us is we've been focusing a lot on e-commerce lately.
Okay.
I like to think that an e-commerce business is the type of business that absolutely, positively, needs us. Whereas if you have a local business, I'm not so convinced. At the end of the day, everyone realistically needs some type of Google search, but I tend to stay, or we tend to stay away from the local dentist, the local attorney. Attorney's a little bit better, but those local businesses tend to be a little bit more labor intensive and smaller budgets. Whereas e-commerce, if I can be in e-commerce all day, every day, I'd be a happy guy.
Yeah, local is often very labor intensive, a lot of hand holding, a lot of meetings, probably more so than expected from other clients for sure.
Yeah.
Tell us about the structure of your team. Account managers, kind of seniors, juniors, different teams. How does that work within your agency?
Yeah, so I've taken more of a hands-on role. Before I was more in project management, if you want to say president, CEO. But as things have tightened up lately, I've been more involved in the actual work itself, which has been great because I've been able to have a better hands up, brushing up my skills in a sense, brush up on my skills, excuse me. But we have writers. We have one main writer here internally, and then we have a few developers. If you want to say, project manager who's a full stack developer that wears a lot of different hats. On the sales end, I'm more hands on the sales end. I used to
Okay.
have a team of salespeople, but going back to the local business, it's more hand holding than it's worth, I guess.
Sure, sure. The important question, or at least for me, and this is how long have you been using Pop?
That's a good question. I've kind of lost track. It's definitely at least been a year. Um, I'd have to literally go back. Time just flies, when you're, as you probably know, when you're working, you're down in it in a sense. But I'd say somewhere between 2 years and a year,
Okay, right on. All
somewhere in
right,
that
so let's
time.
talk about. You've got a couple clients that you want to talk about that you've kind of use your systems and integrated Pop within that. What type of clients are these? Like, what niche are they in? B2B, B2C, that sort of thing, and what do they offer?
B2C. So the first client that I want to talk about, they were doing really well on Amazon.
Okay,
They were, in a sense, an Amazon store doing great. But as you probably know, Amazon takes a pretty big cut of that. So
sure.
they wanted to go direct to consumer and really beef up their numbers. Just really do more direct sales at the end of the day. Direct sales is a pretty good buzzword now. I mean, everybody wants to get into the direct sale game. So,
Why did they? I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
no, no worries. I mean, just, a quick little overview.
Yeah, yeah. Why did they reach out to you? Were they new to SEO and they needed SEO services?
Yeah.
Hit by an update, fire an agency. Like, why did they come to you
Yeah.
initially?
I mean, it's interesting. We had this conversation that a lot of these e-commerce brands really still don't know Google search. I mean, I find
Mhm.
it. I'm a little perplexed by it, to be honest with you. That it just really depends. They didn't have anyone internally at the end of the day. What it comes down to, yes,
Okay,
they had a writer, which made the project really go smoothly and cut down on our workload. Um, but they didn't have anyone that internally that knew anything about SEO. So they came to us. They came to me. I worked with them directly a lot in a more of a you want to call it a consultant type of a role where I was taking care of the content calendar, looking at finding our entry point as far as what we're going to target, as far as the keywords, things of that nature, as you probably know, or as you do know. Um, you got to start off less competitive and work your way up. You don't just start at the most competitive term out there with a site that has very little analytics or very little users and you know content at the end of the day.
So they're coming in without doing any SEO. So essentially, you're setting up their SEO strategy. Like
Yeah,
that,
that's
you're kind of getting that going from the start.
from the start. Yeah, in a perfect
Did
again, going back to the perfect type of client, I'd like to have someone that's already been in it, knows exactly what they need, rather
Mhm.
than build it from the ground up in a sense.
That kind of leads into my next question. Because they're so brand new to SEO, did they have a goal or something specific besides like just like more traffic, or did you kind of have to even like kind of give them the vocabulary and the framework of like what goals can actually be?
Yeah, I hate to say it, both of these case studies was the latter, where um, I had to really make. At the end of the day, look, everyone wants more online sales, more direct sales, uh, more organic website traffic. But sure, I had to put together a 3 6. I always like to do it in that time frame, 3 6 9 12 type of intervals, as far as what we were doing, how we were doing it, and were we hitting our targets? Were we there? Were we above target? Were we below target? So um, yeah, I was responsible for most of that.
Yeah, setting up sprints is so necessary, because if you don't have kind of that goal in mind by the end of the sprint, how are you going to evaluate the work that you did? How are you able to decide if you made good decisions, how the decisions going forward?
Absolutely. I mean, if you don't have that, I mean, what do you have? I mean,
Yeah.
really, just you're just
Okay,
looking.
a chaotic mess, probably.
Yeah, you're just looking at data, saying, "Oh, that looks good."
Right.
You've got
Yeah.
to set up some type of accountability. There's no doubt about that.
Right on. All right, so let's get in kind of to the nitty gritty on what you did. A little bit about the strategy, kind of within those sprints as you're talking about, and the workflow that happens. Like for example, like are the same things kind of being done every month? Do you kind of evaluate, like how does all that kind of work together?
Yeah. So the first case study was they sold hair ties. This was with the brand. They had an Amazon profile, an Amazon store. They were doing great on Amazon, but no direct sales on the website itself.
Okay.
So yeah. So what we did was we started out looking at search query response post, buyer intent type of search queries, trying to find a good entry point where we can get some traction. Again, not going to the right into the deep end where the competition is extremely, difficult. Trying to find out what type of results that we would, get in the first early stages. So those first 3 months were a lot of testing, trying to see what type of results, trying to see what type of placement we would get. We were able to get quite a few Google featured snippets, which was fantastic.
That's excellent.
Yeah,
That's excellent.
yeah.
How did Pop work integrate into that workflow?
So they had a writer which made it really seamless, and the writer was great. And the writer understood this type of software, has used this type of software before. But yeah, in most cases, everything that we do is realistically about Pop. Pop is going to work in conjunction with the content calendar. So I use Ahrefs or their Google Search Console. Try and find out, as far as the entry point, how to put together the content calendar. Where are we going to start? Going back to some of the things that you say about the I forget the one person that you use the case study for, but try and find your lowest end on the impressions,
Mm,
highest end on the impressions. Find your average in the middle, and that's kind of where you want to, in a sense, stay in your lane.
sure.
You know,
Yeah, the tiers, the
tiers.
avalanche
Yeah,
tiers. Yeah.
I forget who the person that was responsible for
Chris Carter
Chris
from
Carter.
Serpwu. Yeah.
Yeah, so, I talk a lot about staying in your lane. So, we try and when you're starting off with not much at the beginning, we just try and stay in our lane, get some traction. I say get some
Sure.
things on the scoreboard. But, Pop's really responsible for just about everything. Once the content calendar has been established, a lot of search query response type of content, targeted buyer type of questions, and keywords. And, Pop would be responsible for not only creating the benefits of having an agency account. You can add another user. We would add that,
Hmm.
that user on there. And the good part about this particular client is the writer was A plus. I mean, she knew
Okay.
what was going on. She knew how to use the software. There wasn't much of a learning curve, which made it great. It's really tough.
That's nice.
Yeah,
That's not always the case with people
it's
that are
not.
writers for
This
sure.
was this was one of those types of scenarios where everything really just worked out perfectly. Um, Results, the client
Yeah.
relationship, and then having a writer. They had a writer internally, and the writer was really understanding how the software works. So there wasn't much training involved.
I like that term they use, kind of the insertion point, because that is something that's pretty interesting. It's like, where do you start with the project? That is often, I think a lot of people actually get stuck with their websites because they don't know where to start. And that's probably having an SEO expert like yourself is probably one of the kind of underrated features of SEO, is like, just where do we even kick off from? I really like that
Would you agree
definition a
that
lot.
kind of staying in your lane is something that I know you listen, you teach a lot of different strategies, you're a speaker. Would you say that staying in your lane is one of the most important things out there, or am I way off?
It's no, it's the absolute foundation of everything I do in SEO.
Yeah.
I wanna try to find where that lane is, I wanna post in that lane, and then I want to organically move up tiers, kind of building a moat of protection around the site that will only protect from the outside and then amplify anything else that I do.
So the good thing that I found out about, I guess, with AI and Google, and I guess Google having to work faster, more efficient, things seem to be getting indexed really quickly, efficiently, and
Yeah.
within a few weeks, a month at the latest, you're seeing results right away. Whereas years ago, that wasn't the case.
Yeah, that is actually really nice. When you hit the tier correctly, you get pretty quick results so that it's like instantly hitting, page 3, page 4, maybe even higher without doing much. And then it only seems to rise quickly. I think you're exactly right.
Well, I think
I think
like to hear this. It's mainly been, and I'm not really pounding the chest, but it's been a lot of on these projects. It's been a lot of page one results early on because we've been finding
that's all.
the lower tier stuff.
What I always like about that too is essentially you're out researching your competition. It's not fairy dust. It's not magic this or that. It's like, what, we can actually out research the competitors and beat them just by doing better work.
Yeah,
That's what I was like about that. I think you've got some stuff to show us on the work that you've done. If you want to go ahead and
yeah.
hit
Can
the
you?
share screen.
I actually whenever I do these type of uh, presentations, I don't like to look at my cell phone camera. So just share the screen.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. The that middle button there.
I,
I stare at myself the entire time. I talk to myself.
I don't. I hide it because if I look at myself, I'm gonna be like, "Man, you are a goofball."
No, it's the weirdest thing. I find if I don't look at myself, it's weirder.
Can
Like,
you
I can't look
and
at
look,
you. I can't look at you. I can only look at me.
it may
It's
be a
true.
bad thing when I go back and look at these videos. I'm like, "Wow, I really wasn't paying attention." But can you see the
Yeah, yeah.
screenshots?
Yeah, we can see the screen. So we're in Search Console.
Yeah, so this was the client that I mentioned that was, they did bring a lot to the table. Although they didn't have a lot of SEO experience, they had a lot of e-commerce experience, and they were doing really well on um, Amazon. And they had a team that really knew what they were doing. outside of SEO. So this made for a perfect project. And this is just a 6 month chart. So I don't know. I think these are pretty impressive figures, but you
Absolutely.
may look at this.
Absolutely.
You may look at this and be like, this is a little
No, this
below
is
average, Steve.
no, this is excellent.
Yeah.
Excellent, excellent. So, on this timeline, this is the during the time when you were doing the work, essentially you
Yeah.
said it was a 6-month project?
Yeah.
Is
This
that
is
right?
when we, started engaging. I don't have access to the search console anymore, so I can't go in there and see what this actual number was. But as you could see, this is 150 here. Well, that's clicks,
Mhm.
but it's pretty low. I mean, this was a little bit into it, but because I know we started working with them in the late summer, and this is looks like July, end of July. So yeah, this campaign worked out. I mean, as you can see, this worked out fantastic. This is a Google featured snippet that we should you work up out with your hair up or down. Um, they do hair ties, but they are for strong. I'm not in the hair tie. You may be more in the hair tie.
Maybe something I need.
Yeah, than me. I don't know much about hair ties. So what they like to pump their chest on is, they were a very, I guess, wound tight hair tie, and they were used for thick hair. But I could
Okay.
just give you data upon data as far as great results that we have. These were just two that I happened to pick out, but this was a real
So,
success.
let's talk about those featured snippets then. So, are those on target pages that you used on Pop? Like, you would
Yeah,
pop these pages
all of
and
them.
you're able to run featured
Everything that
snippets?
you see here was, again, once we migrate from the content calendar, the content calendar, and we go back to finding your staying in your lane. I use Ahrefs in Search
Mhm.
Console. Ahrefs to look at their competitor keywords. Ahrefs to find a more overhead view of things, kind of compare where they are in comparison to their competitors. Once I've identified that lane, then I go in there and build out the listen, it's everything that you've said as far as the content silos. Um, what's the term I always forget as far as topical authority? Just
Mhm.
really pounding the topical authority. I've learned firsthand in my agency doing work for the branding agency as far as SEO and our blog. That topical authority is a real thing. I mean, you really need to establish that.
Love that. Did you find that, well, you're getting the snippets from, like, sections kind of at the top or, like, maybe sections with H2s or something like that? Did you kinda see a pattern on where those were coming out from?
I no, it's really kind of across the board. Now, I do have a strategy where, you know, I specifically target, these and when I say I have a specific strategy, and again, you can correct me if I'm wrong, it's I look for a 300 character encyclopedic. I know that's a really, really long word to, and I probably didn't even say it right, but a very
I think you nailed it. You nailed it.
yeah, answer. So, and now
Okay.
with AI, this was pre-AI, believe it or not,
Hmm.
or just at the beginning. I can't say pre-AI, but I have a script that I put in for AI, and to get that Google featured snippet.
I love it. I love, one thing that I've found with Pop is that, you will increase the number of keywords that a page is ranking for. That's one of, I think, the big things we talk about, but I love also that you can get other SERP features, such as, like, hitting the snippet just by properly optimizing for the term, getting the content on the page as it should be, and then not only are you're popping or popping, not only you're ranking well, but also then taking over the feature snippets is pretty awesome. That's gotta make the client feel good too.
Yeah, and look, I understand what we're here for as far as some good case studies on pop, but pop is my lifeblood, the agency's lifeblood. It's everything that we do when it comes to content creation. Now, I can't say that there's 0% that's not done without pop. So everything that
Hmm.
we do is done with pop. And
I really appreciate that.
yeah,
I appreciate you saying that. That's
no,
really
I
powerful.
mean, look, again, I'm not here to. I understand why we're here, but this may be a good case study for you, is because everything that we do is using pop. I don't want to try and do it look, pop makes things life so much more easier. You don't want to sit there and
Yeah.
try and rewrite the book in a sense on your own.
Go in and start hand counting
Yeah,
terms.
I
Yeah, that's
guess
not going to
that's
work.
something that you probably did in the early stages, and figured out how the in a sense how the algorithm really works. You probably were doing.
That's exactly right. It was done by hand to start, and we realized this is effective, but not efficient. And not scalable.
Anybody
Um,
that's not
but
using, look, again, this isn't a commercial, but anybody, it isn't. Anybody,
it is. It is. Yeah.
yeah, anybody that isn't using these type of tools is crazy. I mean, because they do make life so much more efficiently, and with the integration, the API key for Chat GPT, I mean, you could just pop out massive amounts of I see people out there that are trying to do everything, the optimization work straight through Chat GPT, and I don't think that's a good strategy. Correct me if I'm wrong. I don't think it's very accurate.
Well, it doesn't know how to optimize anything.
Right.
That's just kind of the bottom line. You mentioned the API again, just for people that don't know. If you're using our AI writer, you can insert your own GPT-4 key, and then it only costs 1 credit to create your articles. So,
It's a no-brainer,
but
Kyle.
we're trying to help. Like some things are kind of expensive. Like to do the AI writer is a little expensive for us. But if somebody has their own key, we're happy to make it as cheap as we can do it. So let's talk about the other client. You have one more.
Yeah,
Also an e-commerce client.
yeah. Also a e-commerce client. Now this one, a little bit different. What I mean by that is there was a lot more. They relied on me just about for everything, and I hate
Okay.
to say it. I don't like to see e-commerce brands that realistically don't know what they're doing online. So I had to. I was doing everything. They didn't have a writer. We had to handle the writing for them. Used the AI tool with Pop, but here we go. I mean, they didn't have anything that was ranking whatsoever, and you know, a month into the campaign, we got a Google featured snippet.
Boom. That's so great because SEO takes time, right? And it truly does. But if you can show a quick win that quickly, that is lovely.
Yeah,
That makes for a good meeting with the client.
yeah. Again, I think that because of what's happening in the industry, and correct me if I'm wrong, Google's just indexing stuff so much more quicker. I mean, that
Hmm.
everything's running much more efficiently, it seems to me, or I'm just doing a better job. I'm not high on myself.
That actually might be part of it because I know a lot of people are still struggling with indexing. But I can tell you, the last 2 years indexing hasn't been great. Last 3 years, it really hasn't been great. And I do agree that I think it is getting a little bit better. But I also think you're selling yourself a little short. I think you're doing really good work. That's probably why you're seeing some faster indexing than a lot of other people.
Yeah, this was a look. I hate to say that I'm not working with this client anymore, because this was just such a great project.
Hmm.
Because sure, it was a lot of work that they didn't have anything to go on, but everything that we did had just such great results. I mean, there was very little things. I hate to kind of do this to you as far as pull up some of their data, but this was content that we created here that just, I mean, this is only less than 30 days worth of uh, data right here from their Google Search Console, and one article is outpacing their homepage.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
Absolutely amazing.
I mean, again, I guess when you're dealing with a brand that doesn't have, much content creation, anything, or maybe I'm not really using the term correctly.
Well, I know what you mean. You're saying that like you could do anything and you're going to see some success.
Yeah.
but I disagree with that. Like I think you could do a lot of stuff and get absolutely no success, and I think that's the vast majority of people's experience doing SEO themselves. Rather than going to an agency such as yours, that they feel like they tried it all, but nothing really happened. That's where you, as the expert, can come in. And so I think to you it seems obvious. We're going to do this and it's going to hit, but not. I don't think it's that obvious to non SEOs.
Yeah, within 60 days, I mean, they were off the runway and going. I mean, things were really, for a brand that had, you know, little to nothing online. I mean, they were really off and running. Was really happy with the results. And again, I understand that you're starting in a sense from nothing. So, you're not, but a Google featured snippet 30, I don't know if this was somewhere between 30 and 60 days into the project.
Excellent.
Yeah.
And that means you're probably on page one, or at least high page two to
Oh
get that
yeah.
as well.
I mean, this
Yeah.
other article, I guess I just looked at it. Wonder if I can click on it if it's going to go to it. Yeah. This is, tote bags. They do
Okay.
sustainable, what's the term? Sustainable and fair trade.
Okay. Nice.
So,
Very, very cool.
yeah, this article just really took off as well.
And as you said, that's non-branded traffic too. That's getting outside of somebody that knows the brand and getting in front of your potential clients.
Well,
Just like
here's
that.
one of the things that I like to see. When you have the Google featured snippet, can you see the snippet back up on my screen?
Yes, yes.
You're up here on right next to sponsored content.
Hmm.
So when you're dealing with e-commerce brands and you're ranking high on page one for buyer intent, more than likely you're going to be seeing a lot of sponsored, paid ads on here. And here you go, you got organic stuff that's on the page as well. So I think,
Right in line, like right in line with it.
yeah,
Right where. Yeah. In this workflow, so you said that you had your own writers. So I imagine it's kind of like a keyword research, and then that's when you make your content schedule, I believe. And then from there, do you run pop and give like a brief to the writer? Do you let them see the whole account? How do you manage that when you're giving them the pop recommendations?
yeah, good question. So, as I mentioned, I've gone more hands-on in the last year with the agency, and we're using the AI. Going back to the content silo, I mean, the content silo worked great for
Hmm.
their money page, which is their purchase page, or their
Okay.
their shop page in a sense. But we would create a silo around a particular product, link up to the money page, and all the content that we were writing was used. Was the AI, or what is it? The AI writer integration
Oh, yeah, yeah.
with Pop. I mean, yeah, we had to
That's
edit
excellent.
it, but
Yeah,
we use the AI writer. I mean, we're not sure. I know how the outline works, and in some
yeah.
cases, you can hand out off that outline, give it to the writer. The writer takes complete control. But I like to give the writer the um, the AI generated content first. I think it makes it much more easier because if you have a score of 100, I think it makes it much more easy and efficient to edit that content than for them to create the even with the outline in place.
I like that a lot. It's so much easier to edit than to create. And if you
Yeah,
can kind of give them that the content that's maybe 70% of the way there and is optimized, then they can probably do a lot more for you in terms of content output rather than having to try to get them to create something from scratch.
I need to get on to Pop here because you guys did throw a little bit of curveball recently with the recent change in the algorithm where the score changes. Are you familiar?
Mm, the over optimization toggle. We're pretty proud of that.
Yeah. So
So that came about because a lot of people are like, hey, I've got a score of 100 in pop, but this page isn't moving and I don't quite understand it. And then what we found is that um, while sections might be correct in terms of usage, individual terms will be over. So what that's really doing, that is really focusing in on individual terms in each section more so than just kind of looking at the section as a whole. That's kind of what that's driving at.
Yeah, so, in a sense, they've been performing well, even though, you go here and it's 100, but you go, and I don't know if this is something that you really want to get into. Um,
No, this is fine.
I just brought this up because it's kind of, I've had to retrain myself on certain things,
Mm.
um, with pop now that this is here. But, for this particular term, we're already ranking pretty high. We dominate a lot of Charlotte SEO type of search results, SERPs.
How I would approach it if I were you is you've got a system that you know works. I don't think you need to worry about it. Hit that 100 score as you're doing it and post that content. What I would do is if you're evaluating something and it's not hitting like you think it should,
Right.
or if it kind of starts that slow decline, it was like number 6, page 1, and then it's number 8, and then it's kind of like bouncing up and down between, top of page 2, bottom of page 1, that kind of thing. Then I would kind of look at this
Well, I don't want to give you the
as
wrong
another data
impression.
point.
I don't want you to think that, we don't go in here, we get the 100 score and then we do the, toggle and it says 50. We get the content up there,
Hmm.
and see how it performs. And if
Yeah,
it
yeah, yeah.
isn't, like you said, if it isn't performing well, then we go in there and we,
I think that's exactly how you should use that tool
yeah.
for
In
sure.
my opinion, you got to get the stuff up there. See how you may be surprised. It may perform way better than expected.
That's 100% correct. The only page that can't rank is the page that doesn't exist. You have to get it up and on and just give it a go for sure.
And people that are new and small businesses, they have such fear of that. They think
Yeah,
that once you put it up there, that everyone in the world is going to see it. It's like, listen, it's a work in progress. You need to make tweaks.
totally agree.
I just think it's kind of funny how they get so. And look, we're not putting up bad stuff. I mean, it's
Right.
just stuff that needs tweaked.
Yeah. Yeah. But I mean, it needs to get up, it needs to get time, it needs to get crawled, you need to see how it performs. All that is extremely important. And kind of people, as you said, kind of just sit on it, or they kind of get this idea of perfection and they end up with paralysis instead.
Yeah, I mean, I try and stay away early on, just aiming for perfection. I mean, I have a pretty good system that I know that, and again, the system is pop in the AI writer. I mean, usually the AI writer is going to get it 80 to 90% correct. You need to go in there and just clean up some things. I mean, you
Yeah.
don't probably there's probably some people that post it as is, and
I would avoid that personally, but
right. I
uh,
understand, but
yeah.
at the end of the day, it's probably a lot better than other things.
Well, I
Some,
think that's true. That's true
you know,
for sure. Well, Steve, this has been awesome. Thank you so much for sharing with us on those 2 clients and the results and how you on. You're killing it,
yeah,
man. You're doing great.
yeah. Look, I'm like you. I enjoy everything about SEO. I do enjoy the results, and working with these type of software tools, it just makes life a whole lot easier.
Awesome. Well, thanks again. And thanks everyone for watching. We appreciate you being on, and we'll talk to you later. Bye.